Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Average Age Plays. This time we're looking at the Byzantines, or Byzantines, I've heard it pronounced as well, but I'm going to go with Byzantines. And I gotta say, I'm really excited to share with you Byzantines gameplay, so much so that I'm actually going to show you two games in this YouTube video. I'll go through the second one faster than the first, but I have to share these games with you because I find the Byzantines absolutely fascinating. Why, you might ask? Well, I find them fascinating because they have bonuses that at first glance are not very flashy. In fact, the first time I looked at the bonuses, and as I started playing with Byzantines, I didn't quite understand how the bonuses all connected. They seemed like a random hodgepodge of bonuses. But as I started looking at the numbers and it started clicking to me how this civilization works, I discovered a civ that brings a lot of really unique features, really unique game style. You're going to have a very unique gameplay potential if you play as the Byzantines. I found them fascinating, and I'm looking forward to sharing what I discovered with you in this video. So let's dive right in and take a look at their bonuses. Now, the first thing that I think we should look at is actually the second bonus. I consider this the definitive Byzantine bonus. It's that second one there. Camel riders, skirmishers, and spearmen are 25% cheaper. Now take a look at those units, and what you'll realize is those are all counter units, right? Spearmen and skirmishers are trash units. They counter the knights and the archers respectively. Camel riders are also a counter unit that counter knights and cavalry, right? So those counter units are 25% cheaper. That is an amazing, definitive Byzantine bonus. And what I found is you can use them in two separate ways. If you're the kind of player that often gets into post-imperial trash war slogfests, that means that your army of trash units, spearmen and skirms, are much cheaper than your opponents, and that can be definitive for you in the long run, right? I am the kind of player that doesn't tend to get to post-imperial. I often win or lose before then, right? So for me, the key moment for that bonus is actually in the feudal and early castle age. If I am being scout rushed, if I am being hit with an archer rush, it means that I am able to get up an effective response to that rush more cost efficiently than any other civilization in the game. The Byzantines are an amazing counter civ. That's how I mentally consider them, is they can counter anything you throw at them. And they have a very strong late game within their tech tree, right? So no matter what you throw at the Byzantines, they have a response, especially in the meta where almost everybody is going to go either archers or knights. You have very cost-effective counters to either strategy, right? It's a really, really, really great bonus. Tied in with that, now, here's the trick on that bonus, and this is what I discovered, and I lost a couple of games doing this myself, is don't over-rely on trash units. I had times where my opponent went they went crossbows or archers, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go skirmishers to counter the crossbows, but I let him mass up too many crossbows, he got too many upgrades, and I kind of fell behind, and I was hoping, well, the fact that I've got a counter, will counteract that, but I ended up just getting overwhelmed, right? So what you want to do is, and you don't really have many other bonuses in the Dark Age and the Feudal Age. Your strength as a Byzantine player, you come into your own in the Castle Age and in the Imperial Age. So you want to get there as quickly as you can, right? That's where this first bonus comes into play. Buildings have additional HP depending on the era, right? So you start off with 10% in the Dark Age, and you go up 10% up to 40% in the Imperial Age, right? That is another bonus that sort of has two sides to the coin. I see two primary uses for that. In a castle versus castle fight, your castles are a little bit healthier. It's going to take a couple of more treb shots before your castles go down. That's nice, right? But on top of that, the other bonus that I can see there is actually here in the Dark Age. I consider this the Dark Age, Feudal Age bonus that the Byzantines have, it means that your defenses, your walls, whether you're building house walls or palisades, they are going to be tougher to take down than other civilizations. And because it's so critical that you get to the castle age as quickly as possible, I think as a Byzantine player, you are especially encouraged to wall up as quickly as you can. And we're actually going to see in this game, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to wall up as soon as I'm able in order to make sure that I get to the castle age healthily. Here I go, throwing walls up right now. And you can actually see the bonus in play already. My houses have 605 HP. My opponent, Matos, playing as the Indians, has the normal 550 HP. So if I can get my walls up in time, then that means that, again, it'll be harder for him to break through, right? A very, very helpful bonus. It gives you just that much more time. Like, let's say that I'm suddenly getting rushed by something and I need to get out those cheaper units, right, to counter them. Well, it gives you that much more time to get the response out that you need to get out. So, when I started playing Byzantines, I didn't understand this bonus. I thought it was kind of weird, sort of random. Now, I love this bonus. It gives you a very specific strategy that you can go for, which is the fast castle, right? Now, let's take a look at... if we jump down a little bit, we see that Town Watch and Town Patrol are free. That's a bonus. It's a little bit random, but it's also, again, nice, and it serves the same theme as the building bonus. It gives you just a little bit more reaction time. That's great for us slower players out there. It means that your buildings... and we're actually going to see this. As soon as I hit the feudal age, my buildings will suddenly have a lot more vision than they did before because automatically Town Patrol is researched. And then Town Watch, I've got it backwards. Town Watch is researched in the feudal age, and then Town Patrol in the castle age are researched immediately and for free. And so you get that much more vision, so you can see enemies coming at you that much faster. It's not the most amazing bonus in the world, but it helps out, right? Advancing to the Imperial Age is 33% cheaper. This is such an amazing bonus. You can hit the Imperial Age so much cheaper. It says 33%. It honestly feels like even more than that. It is so amazing being able to get an advantage in the Castle Age, or maybe it's neck and neck and you're needing the edge, right? And being able to research Imperial Age 33% cheaper. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it's only like 600 and some odd food, 600 and some odd gold, and you're up. You know, whereas everyone else is needing to spend 1,000 food and 800 gold to get up to the Imperial Age. Right? I mean, it's such an incredible bonus. So, and I think we'll actually get to see that in this game too, but we'll see. What you'll notice, I want to jump into the game real quick here, into the actual gameplay. I'm getting my walls up, talking about that Byzantine strategy, and it looks like I will indeed get walled up in time. My opponent is intending on going for something a little bit more aggressive, but not what I was expecting. I was thinking, well, we're playing on 4 lakes. You got the food eco. Maybe it's a good idea for him to go scouts. And Indians have good scouts. They have extra pierce armor, right? So if I were going archers, then Indian scouts can absorb that damage more effectively, right? So I figured scouts was his play. In fact, do I even... At one point, I wanted to say I built a spearman or two in anticipation as a just-in-case sort of move. But he's actually going to go archers. And it's one of those moves I really enjoy and appreciate it because making a move that your opponent doesn't expect is so effective, right? Fortunately, I've been learning my lesson over a couple of defeats. My scout moved in and saw the archer ranges, and not only saw them, but saw that there were units inside the archer ranges. So I did learn in advance that archers are coming. So this is not going to surprise me as badly as it otherwise would have. I've already got one archer range up. I've got a second one coming. And I'm going to queue up some of those cheaper skirmishers in just a second. I'm a little slow on the draw, but they are coming. Now let me jump back over here. I snuck a villager over. Or, you know, brought a villager over here, I should say. And got up fire galleys, and that's because of their next bonus. Fire ships fire 25% faster. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably have learned a little bit about the debate between me and Hiram over what naval unit you should build in the Dark Age. Hiram prefers galleys. I tend to prefer fire galleys. And if you are on my side of that conflict, then the Byzantines are a great civilization for you because they have faster firing galleys, which means they are that much more effective at blowing up ships quickly, right? So, we're going to see in just a second, as I do have archers trying to move in to attack me. I'm keeping my vills alive, and I've got skirms out, right? So he's not going to do the damage he was hoping to do. But meanwhile, any second now, I'm going to pop out these fire galleys, and in a fire galley versus fire galley fight, I win this battle not just because of the numbers, because I've got 3 to his 2, but also because, again, mine fire faster, so even if it were a one-on-one, I win. And they're a great civilization for this too, if you get into a, maybe it's a nomad map or something like that, and you're fighting naval battles into the feudal age, I'm sorry, into the Castle Age, into the Imperial Age. You have the unique technology, I think it's Greek Fire is the name of it. It gives your fire ships additional range. So they not only fire faster, they fire farther. So that's a great bonus here for the Byzantines. And they're going to be clearing up this lake and doing a lot of damage to Matos's food eco. Now, what surprised me, I've got to admit, is he does the same thing over here. And I'm going to try to counter that. And again, I'm relying on the fact that I do have the faster ships, but he has upgraded his fire ships. I'm sorry, his fire galleys into fire ships. So now he has the Castle Age version, and that means he's actually wiping out my lake at the same time I'm wiping out his lake. Yeah, now it's 2-on-1 over here. Meanwhile, these archers, they're still not quite sure what to do. They're kind of harassing my Woodvilles, but you know, right now the battle, I think I've distracted him by going on to the lake. And what you'll see over on this lake, I have cleared out the lake, or almost cleared it out. He is going to take control back. So good for him. And this is one of those times where I actually end up losing the water battle. I lose control of my own lake. I lose control of his lake. So in a lot of ways, this is a win for him. Having said that, it actually does help me out because he's put so many resources, so many more resources into defending these lakes. And he's queuing up an unnecessarily large amount of fire galleys or fire ships. He's even got fire ships on this lake that I never contest, right? So think about how much wood, how much gold, how much population space that he's using up to defend these lakes that I'm not going to contest. I am switching over, or I'm going to be switching over into a farm economy and moving on to stage 2 of my plan, right? So, you know, it does give him a bonus though, and it does mean he's going to have access to a lot of food. But it also clues me in. At this point as I'm playing the game, I realize my skirmishers have done their job. They've wiped out that early feudal age pressure, and as the crossbows come in, they have no chance either. The skirmishers will still do their job. So he's kind of throwing away his units. And I am predicting with all of the food that he's going to get out of, well, these 2 lakes, and later I'm going to learn he actually has a third up. With all of that food, I know the Indians, they want to go into either scouts or camels. They love their cavalry. I'm going to be ready for that, right? But for now, I've got to deal with these crossbows. Get those skirmishers over there and see if they can handle business. I'm getting elite skirmisher in, just in case, because you know, sometimes I become too clever by half. I'll think, oh, I know the tech switch is coming, and so I'll predictively, you know, start making a counter switch of my own, only to learn that he never does make the tech switch, and it just comes at me with, you know, 50 crossbows or whatever. So I still want to make sure that my skirmishers are teched up as much as possible, that I'm ready if he does decide to stay on crossbows. I'd be surprised, but I think that might be what he does. You also see I'm building up kind of an internal house wall here to try to funnel his units. If he does break through, I want them funneled into that town center so that he has to take a lot of damage if he wants to get into my base. Right. 14 fire ships. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but that's an awful lot of wood and gold that he put in. Too much wood and gold that he put in to secure, you know, a lake that, again, I'm not going to test. Now, over here, I thought, well, maybe he's not in this lake. This was a surprise. But I quickly realized, wait a minute. This won't work. I forget if I get the dock up or not. I either retreat. Do I pull back? Yeah, I pull back and just delete the dock. Right. So here we do see my opponent, Matos, as the Indians, getting bloodlines in. He is indeed going to be going cavalry. That is not a surprise to me. So at this point, for me, I don't know what my opponent's going to do. I don't have a scout up, right? He died. So I don't know. Is he still going into archers? He's making a tech switch. I realize I need power units of my own. This is the mistake that I lost games like this, is relying too much on those counter units. You know, and this is a moment where if I were to try to predict, oh, he's going to stay on archers, or oh, he's going to go into cavalry, I could very easily make the wrong choice, or my opponent could build a mixed composition and I just get rolled over. Now is the time, as I'm in the Castle Age, and he's in Castle now too. We're both in the Castle Age. Now is the time for me to make a tech switch and start building a power unit of my own. Most of the time for you, that is going to be either crossbows or knights. Pretty classic play. You have a very good barracks too. You could also go infantry if you were so inclined. But one thing I want to highlight, and we're going to be seeing these guys show up in a little bit, is I mentioned that the Byzantines are a counter-civilization, right? So if they go archers, you got the cheaper skirmishers. If they go knights, you have the cheaper spearmen, or the cheaper camels, whichever one you prefer, right? But what happens if you have an opponent that goes infantry? Let's say that you're playing against the Aztec, for example, and they go heavy into infantry and eagles or something like that, right? You also have one of the ultimate anti-infantry units in the game in the Byzantine unique unit, the Cataphract. And I'm going to be talking about them in just a second, but first I want to highlight the battle that's taking place here. My opponent has revealed to me that he is, in fact, going camel riders. Now, this ended up being the right move for me to go archers. The Indian cav units do have one additional pierce armor, so the crossbows won't be as effective as they otherwise might be against normal camels, but they are probably a better choice than going knights, which take, you know, they'll take all that bonus damage from camels, right? But that's, again, where the Cataphract comes in, and we're going to see in a second. He sort of throws away his units here. He wants to get a couple of villager kills. And I think he will end up getting one or two. Good for him, but he loses all of these camels in the process. Right, so... Right. Yeah, this is just a... They're trapped at this point, locked in the corner. They go down. Yep, there they are. All right, so at this point, I'm feeling pretty good because this is the third attack from Matos' army that has, you know, he's sent in like 5 or 6 units and they've all died. So I'm starting to feel like I have massed up a sufficient force to take on whatever he's got. And I know he's not building a counter to archers. So I'm feeling pretty good. And here I have the cheaper Imperial Age, which leaves me plenty of wood, a fair bit of gold. I'm going to need those resources because I want to take advantage of the Byzantine unique unit, the Cataphract. Here, initially I was going to try to castle drop him or bring up a castle close to his base. I didn't realize he had already expanded into the center of the map, so that was a mistake. I'm going to be building the Cataphract. The Cataphract is an amazing unique unit that has some really cool properties. It's got two things going for it. One, the Cataphract takes reduced damage from anti-cavalry units. So if you think of the anti-cavalry units that are out there, like a spearman, for example. Spearmen are extremely weak in most circumstances. They only have 4 attack, right? So as a raiding unit, they're terrible. If you send up a spearman against a swordsman, they're going to tickle the swordsman until the swordsman kills him, right? But what's so great about a spearman is all of the bonus damage they do against cavalry. I've got a list here, right? Spearmen do an additional 15 attack against cav. Pikemen do an additional 22 attack. Halberdier do an additional 32 attack. Camels, like we see from our Indian player here, do 9 additional attack. Heavy camels do 18. And the Indian Imperial Camel upgrade does as well 18 damage against cavalry. So all of the effectiveness of these anti-cavalry units is built into their bonus attack against cav. But the Cataphract has an anti-cavalry bonus reduction of 12 for the Cataphract and 16 for the Elite Cataphract. So for example, where the Spearman does 15 damage, the Feudal Age Spearman, against cavalry, or 15 bonus damage, the Cataphract reduces that amount by 12, so the Spearman only does 3 damage, 3 bonus damage, right? The Camel, with its 9 anti-cav attack, does 0 bonus damage against the Cataphract. So, the Cataphract is amazing to send in against anti-cavalry units, because they just strip away all of that bonus. On top of that, they do a lot of bonus damage against infantry, both as a base unit and with one of their unique technologies, which I'll talk about in just a second. So, they do great anti-infantry. They are a counter to infantry. And on top of that, they take reduced anti-cavalry damage. So they are an incredible unit, a unit that, in certain circumstances, you want to build. Now, here's the trick about the Cataphract, though, is the way their stats play out, they are not as effective as regular, good old-fashioned knights against other gold units. They don't have as much pierce armor, so archers do more damage to Cataphracts. And in a head-to-head matchup, they cost more. They actually do cost more than knights. Cataphracts cost 70 food and 75 gold, and knights cost 60 food and 75 gold. So over time, if you're trying to mass them up, it takes quite a bit of additional food to build Cataphracts, right? They are... Yeah, look at this. Here's that town center goes down. This is demonstrated. This moment here, because we do have a battle taking place. So this is why you don't trickle treb. I'll use that term all the time. And what that means is where you get a single trebuchet out, and then you send that trebuchet forward to attack. You want to get a massive trebuchets, because you want to be able to knock down his trebs with your trebs, and then that starts a snowball where you can start breaking down everything else that he's got. So at this point, I see that he is massing up skirmishers to deal with my archer ball, right? So I realize, oh, this is a great moment. If all he's got are camels and then trash units, Cataphracts are an amazing response, right? Because, I mean, skirmishers won't do anything to Cataphracts. They'll mow through them, and camels, they'll take so much reduced damage from the camels. My Cataphracts are essentially a counter to his anti-cav unit, which is the camel. So I'm feeling really, really good about this. Getting Cataphracts out now. I'm stalling long enough to get a good ball of them, and then we're going to send them forward, right? So they're going to be my cav unit of choice. Could I have gone knights? Yes, but I'm a little scared of the Indian camels, and I see the cataphracts as a great counter to that. Now, this also brings up that second Byzantine unique technology, which is Logistica. And Logistica does two effects. It has two effects. First, it gives your cataphracts trample damage. And that is something I absolutely wanted to bring to the table. Trample damage means that whenever you are attacking a mass of units, you not only are damaging the unit you're attacking, but any units in kind of basically any units standing next to those units. So they are it's a great response for cataphracts going into trash fights. So like here, you've got a mass of skirmishers. With Logistica, the cataphracts will mow through the skirmishers so much more quickly. Perhaps even quicker than knights would, right? Now, I don't believe I've researched this technology yet. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on whether I actually pick up Logistica. I want to say I do, but right now you'll see I'm getting ballistics for my archers, and I think chemistry is coming in as well. And here's the key moment. I've got a battering ram out. My goal is to take the battering ram and use the battering ram with its high pierce armor to absorb the skirmisher damage, then let my cataphracts get in close enough to do the real damage to these units, while the arbalest knock out, these units from a distance. Yeah. So this is the point where his army just melts, and his response, I'm going to go heavy camel rider. I'm going to go camels because camels counter knights. One of the things that I love about certain civilizations, the Italians are one of them with the Genoese crossbowmen, is when you have a unique unit that has properties that players don't typically expect. So the Genoese crossbowman does additional damage against cavalry, and if your opponent doesn't realize how that works, then they will they'll send cavalry after your archers, and the cav will melt, and you're just not sure why. This is an example of a similar kind of thing where I don't know that Matos even realizes that cataphracts take reduced damage from camels. So for him to go so heavy into camels in the long run is a mistake. Okay, so here comes Logistica. Like I said, it does trample damage. It gives your cataphracts trample damage, which is amazing. But then on top of that, it also gives your cataphracts additional bonus damage against infantry. Now, I want to say out of the gate, I'm going to double check this real quick to make sure. But out of the gate, the cataphract does do bonus damage against infantry. Yeah, it does 9 for the regular and 12 for the Imperial cataphract. Bonus damage against infantry. And then Logistica gives an additional +5 damage on top of that. So an amazing anti-infantry unit with all of the upgrades. They're very expensive, but a great unit. And here we see at this point, Matos is definitely falling, right? At this point I have double his army, and a stronger economy on top of that. Because we have 2 games, and I want to show you a second match, I'm going to go ahead and speed up just a little bit. You'll see that Matos is going heavy into camels here. Yeah, and I learned that he's got these buildings up here. So wipe out the skirms, and then I'm pulling back here just because of the numbers. I know that my units beat his, especially with the elite upgrade in, which means now I'm taking 16 reduced anti-cav damage. So Imperial Camel Riders do, let me pull up the numbers one more time. So this is the Indian unique bonus. They can upgrade into Imperial Camel Riders. So they have 20 more HP 2 additional base attack than the heavy camel upgrade. And they also train faster than heavy camels do. So they are an amazing anti-cavalry unit, normally. They would shred knights, shred cavalier and paladin, right? They're a great anti-cav unit. But their plus 18 anti-cav damage is reduced by 16 by Elite Cataphract. So now the main benefit of, you know, the of going into camels has just been taken away by my going into Cataphract. So I have my my archer army here as backup. I'm gonna have the Cataphracts. It's just, this is not a fight that the Indian player is gonna win here, right? So I'm purposefully bringing my trebuchets out. I'm trying to lure him into a battle. I wanted to draw him out for a fight. Here we go. Now remember, the Indian camels have additional pierce armor as well, so they are absorbing archer fire better than normal. But I did knock down his... Well, never mind. Hold on. Yeah, you'll see he's just getting shredded here. The archers are doing their job, but that's also the cataphracts absolutely just nullifying the point of the heavy camel. Matos calls the GG, and that's game 1 here. A fantastic showing for the Byzantines, bonuses, a great moment. But we got a second game. I want to show you that one too, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, this was the very next game that I played, so my victory against Matos was still fresh in my mind. But I wanted to share this game because it's different in a couple of key ways. One, we're playing on Arena, not Four Lakes, not Arabia, not an open map like that, right? So the way the game's going to play out will be different. The other thing is that I'm playing against a very different kind of faction. We're playing against AFK 69 Steve, and it's funny, I've run into AFK 69 players multiple times throughout my ranked adventures. So I don't know if this is like a clan. I'm going to guess it's a clan or a group of players, whatever. It's just funny. But anyway, we got Steve here as my opponent in the red, playing as the Teutons. So I realize right out of the gate, there's virtually no way I'm dealing with an archer civilization, which is what the Indians kind of are. They like to go into scouts or camels. They don't get access to knights. But a lot of Indian players like to go scouts or camels. And then, if they're not going scouts or camels, then they are often going into cavalry archers is their main thing. So, you know, looking back on that last game, the fact that the Indian player went archer is maybe not as much of a surprise as I would have expected. Because it does mean that you're opening up the opportunity to go into cav archer in the late game. That's what a lot of Indian players will do. They have very strong cavalry archer. That's not going to happen here. Not with the Teutons. We should expect to see either a strong focus on infantry or a strong focus on cavalry, because the Teutons get +1 melee armor in the Castle Age and an additional +1 in the Imperial Age. So I'm kind of banking on him going heavy into knights. When I play Teutons, most of the time I'm going to go for a knight play. And if he does go knights, well, again, I have the counters and the counter units and the bonuses to deal with that, right? This is Arena, so we're not going to see a whole lot in the way of feudal action. I'm going to go ahead and speed the game up a little bit. But I do want to highlight the different strategies at play. Now, my thought process is get up to Castle Age. Oh, and by the way, I'll mention this too. That bonus that the Byzantines get for, you know, their additional HP on buildings, that includes walls. So we see here, I have 990 HP on my walls. He only has 900 HP on his walls, right? So once again, it's just harder to break through a Byzantine base if it's walled. And, you know, again, it gives you that reaction time. So a really nice bonus there. Anyway, my game plan is I want to try to hit him by surprise. I want to castle drop him, essentially. I want to castle drop him. I want to force him to start fighting early with fewer units, and that will give my counter units the ability to shine, is what I'm thinking, right? So I am going up to the feudal age with 5 more vills than he does, but he does get up to feudal faster, and he has the resources to go to castle age. So good on him. I think the lucky thing for me is, you know, and we see here, he almost hits castle. I'm only starting on castle. He definitely has that speed bonus. And one thing I gotta say, I love Steve's move here. I love this, and I'm gonna start doing this myself. Notice how he's building kind of like a backup wall of buildings, not against the wall, which is what I do. This is what you see me doing here. And I guess I'm doing that in case he goes battering ram or something like that. But really, it makes much more sense to do this. It's almost as if he anticipates, just in case I get castle dropped, I have this, you know, this line that I can fall back to, and I can very quickly house wall myself to buy myself extra time. I got to applaud Steve. That is a great strategy, great moves. I hit Castle Age. And I hit Castle Age without a whole lot of food, without a whole lot of gold. And this is where those cheaper units absolutely come into play. But what I do have is a couple of spearmen out, because again, I'm predicting that he might possibly already have cavalry on the field. And I'm sending units forward, villagers forward, because I want to get that castle up. If your game plan hinges on a key building, like getting a castle up, if your game is decided life or death by whether a castle goes up, don't send 1 or 2 villagers. Send a good host of them to make sure that they get the job done. Now, my opponent, fortunately, doesn't even realize the castle's coming up. I've got it just outside of his range. So, as far as he's concerned, his business is normal. He's going into sort of a heavy economic focus, which is beautiful. That's exactly what I wanted and what I was hoping for. Because that's typical for arena players. They're going to go heavy into 3 TCs, 4 TCs. And if you're able to break through on an aggressive early castle push, then you can do an awful lot of damage with him being completely unprepared. Right? So I love it. This is exactly the way I want this to go. Now, what you'll see, I got a couple of scouts out, and my thought process was, oh, I'll break through the wall, and then I'll just send the scouts in, and I'll kill a bunch of vills, and he won't even have any units, you know, if he's gone into heavy economy, which he has. This will be great. But what I fail to realize is, again, he's got this house wall back there. An amazing move. Very, very well done by Steve. All right, walls down. This is a game too. I don't know, because I did fast forward through the kind of the early parts of the game, but this is a game where I am trying to use every last bit of resource that I have. You know, you'll see my food right now is at 100 food. And it's very quickly just going to dip back down to next to 0. I've got 30 wood right now. I am trying to keep every last penny of resources going, you know, and doing something, right? So, again, not a flashy bonus, but in the background, that Byzantine reduced cost bonus is doing so much for me. It means that I'm able to produce out of 2 town centers and start getting camels out at the same time. I am trying to keep my economy competitive because he has 3 town centers, right? Yeah, he's got 3 TCs. I'm on 2. I'm trying to keep the TCs going, but also make sure that I'm putting pressure on. And part of what I'm realizing at this point, too, here I've got 700 stone. I've had these guys on stone for a while. My game plan is to push forward with a second castle to really try to break through, really try to keep the pressure on him, right? And what I'm trying to do, I'm only going in with scouts because I want to see what units he's building. And I do see the stable. Let me just check that. Yep, I see the stable. And I see that he's going knights. And this puts a smile on my face because I've already predicted he's going to go cavalry. I've got spearmen out. I've got camels out. I'm focusing more on the camels than I am the spears, to be honest with you. But I am going both. And here you see I've used a little bit of market work to get up Imperial Age with as small of an economy as I have. I am relying on that Byzantine cheaper Imperial Age bonus to bring me through, right? Yeah, get more camels out because he's going knights. Get the second castle up. Put the pressure on. Here's a mangonel. Teutons have great siege. It doesn't surprise me he's going siege. But he's a little slow. And unfortunately for him, yeah. He was just shy of getting a castle of his own up. He's going to need to use the market to get a castle up. So, at this point, even though he's up on the scoreboard, I feel like I've got the momentum. He's not doing a good job responding to me. So, this monastery with the relics won't last. So my game plan is to try to keep the pressure on. I want to get to Imperial Age, immediately get out some trebuchets. Yeah, you see now he's trying to throw up a defensive castle, but I hit Imperial Age. He's not there yet. Yeah, more camels. More camels. He hasn't seen the camels yet. So I don't think he's ready for that. I don't think he's thinking camels. And the thing that I love about going camels as Byzantines is, again, if you're in Steve's position, we're actually going to see this, if I remember correctly. You're Steve, you see, oh wow, the Byzantine player's going into camels, I need a response to that. I guess I'll go spearmen. And once you've baited your opponent going heavy into spearmen, pikemen, then you bring out the cataphract. That's the moment when the cataphract is the right call. And you can just sort of wipe the floor. And now you've got cataphracts, which are knight-like, that can't be countered by spearmen. And camels, which are going to knock out the cav. It's just a bad situation if you're Steve. It's the perfect use of that, again, that sort of a jujitsu, judo countering move, right? Fortunately for Steve, he already got the Imperial Age tech up. He does also have a stronger economy. He's up 5 ills over me. So this is one of those situations where if he can stall my attack, then in the long run, he's in a good spot. But I have the composition to counter him. I'm trying to box him in here. That's what this is. I'm trying to throw up some watchtowers. Unfortunately, his knights see and respond. They will. The tower won't go up. Let's see. Yeah, he hits Imperial Age. He sees the watchtower. I can't get it up in time. What I'm concerned about, I just want to make sure that he doesn't, move out of his base and build a town center out here. I want to keep him boxed in where all the pressure is. Yeah, that's town center 1 that goes down. Here we go. Now I'm ready to engage my camels versus his knights. So if you're playing against the Byzantines, it's very important to be flexible. And again, a lot of times what you want to do is sort of, I guess, try to overwhelm the Byzantine player with much stronger units, especially if he overcommits to trash. You can overwhelm him. But then maybe be ready to have a response to his response. If you're picking an obvious archer civilization, consider going knights instead, and you might catch the Byzantine player by surprise. or let's say you're playing Britons, right? And you go into knights, or you go into archers, and you're doing good work, but he's starting to get that skirmisher mass. Get out those scouts or those knights, and be ready to respond to that. If you can knock him on his heels, then he's going to have a hard time. But if he can predict what you're going to do, then he's in a very good position. Yeah, so at this point, he's got Cavalier out, and we do see Pikeman. He's getting the Halberdier upgrade. Unfortunately for him, Cataphract is on the way. So I send the camels forward, but I see that there's at least one Halberdier on the field. Or one Pikeman. It became a Halberdier just then. I'm wanting to try to draw him out. I'm baiting the Onagers, or the Mangonels, sorry. Baiting the Mangonels to come forward. And then I'll hit him with the Cataphracts as they mass up. He's up 10 vills on me. So this whole time, the game depends on if I can keep the pressure going. Right? If he finds some way to shut this down, then that's GG. But he has no access to stone, right? You know, I think all of his stone is right here, and I've got it. Yeah, here, and yeah. So he's kind of stuck, and he also has no gold. He's sort of been choked out of his gold as well. Kind of a tough situation to be in. He has just enough to afford a bombard cannon, a great anti-treb unit, you know, if you have the military to back it up. I think you see where this is going, though. Again, just like last game, I'm using the trebs to kind of bait my opponent into a fight. Bring him in, bring him in. And then here we go. Oh, no! Not Halberdier, no! Now, don't get me wrong. Halberdiers still, you know, man-to-man win fights against Cataphracts, right? So you don't want to use Cataphracts against Halberdier as such. It's just that they still do significantly better than Knights. So if you have the numbers, feel free to take that battle anyway, like in this fight. Smash through the Halberdier, get to the weak units behind them. If it were 50 versus 50, Cataphracts versus Halberdier, don't take that fight. But there are times and places where you can do that, because the elite Cataphract does -16, takes -16 anti-cav damage, but Halberdiers still do 32 cav damage. So they still do 16 bonus damage against Cataphracts, right? They're still cost effective, but not nearly as cost effective as they would be against Paladin. So, different kind of game, different situation, but once again, you see how you can sort of get into these situations and battles where you can trick your opponent or force your opponent to go into one direction and then drop the hammer on them by bringing in those counter units. And you can, you know, navigate the tempo of the game through these Byzantine bonuses. They are a fascinating civ. They bring a lot to the table. They are definitely worth experimenting with. This has been 2 games here of the Byzantines, so I figure you probably got a good grasp on them. Leave a comment as to your Byzantine experience. What do you like about the civ? What sort of advice do you have on people who want to fight Byzantines? What do you want to see next? That kind of thing. Like and subscribe, you know the drill. But thanks so much for watching. This is the Iron Kaiser alongside the Byzantines, signing out.